Hey everybody, Krins here, and today I want to talk Callisto Protocol. Dead Space is one of my favorite games of the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 generation. Actually, it's in my top 10 favorite games, period. So when I heard one of the original developers was making a spiritual successor, I was all in. But because there have been so many games I want to play, I just haven't had a chance to get to it. Now that it's on PlayStation Plus, there's no better time. So what do I think now that I've had a chance to play it myself? Well, it's not terrible, but it's not that great either. There's a lot of potential here, but sadly a lot of it is wasted. I liked the more melee-focused combat at first, but that quickly dissipated once the game started throwing swarms of enemies at you. You can reliably dodge incoming damage from 2 or 3 enemies. Any more than that and you quickly get pounded into mulch, especially when the game throws multiple acid-spitting punks at you. So it's a good thing the game isn't entirely melee-focused. Unfortunately, all the guns feel extremely inconsistent. Actually, all the weapons in this game feel inconsistent. I had several times that an enemy took 8 point-blank shotgun blasts to the face to die, and then the next enemy across the room only took 1. The stun baton doesn't fare much better. Some enemies take a dozen or more hits to put down, and then the next enemy of the exact same type only takes 5 or so. This is also before they start mutating into stronger versions. Once they start mutating, it will vary even more. It's just strange. You also get a grip. This game's version of kinesis, an extremely powerful means of attack. To make up for this, the game makes its power drain really quickly. You can barely pick up an enemy and shoot him at a spike wall or a fan before you are out of battery, especially on harder difficulties. At least until you upgrade it. Either way, it's more powerful than any gun you get in the game. Speaking of guns, there isn't much variety. There are 2 pistols, 2 shotguns, and an assault rifle with 3-round burst. That's it. No RPG, no grenade launcher, no mine layer, not even a machine gun. Of course, all guns have an alt-fire once they have been fully upgraded. Alt-fire modes such as explosive rounds, homing rounds, and 5-round burst. So they weren't exactly thinking outside the box. Which would have been fine if the game had more variety on the melee side of things. But no such luck. Instead, all you get is a stun baton that can do an attack, a heavy attack, and a counter attack, no more. It would have been nice to maybe have some other weapons like brass knuckles, or maybe a slow heavy weapon like a mace, or maybe a hammer. Hint, hint. All of this isn't to say that the combat isn't satisfying. It just means the game has the depth of a puddle. Don't get me wrong, playing in puddles can be very fun, but you are going to lose interest in the puddle much faster than, say, a pool. Maybe enemy variety can help with that. Well, kinda. There's the cannon fodder unit, the acid-spitting ranged unit, crawling exploding unit, the camouflaging spider unit, the blind unit, and the 2-headed heavy that shows up a handful of times. Oh, and let's not forget the security units you get to deal with a few times.
Stand in. Critical failures detected. Have a united day.
So not exactly a lot of enemy types, but enough for a game as short as this one is, I guess. Every enemy can be beaten with the strategy of waiting for the enemy to attack, dodge, attack, repeat until dead. I call it turn-based survival horror. Even the final boss can be beaten this way. The only difference is some enemies cannot be damaged by melee attacks. And I say final boss, but really I mean the only boss. You engage with Ferris one time before the finale, but I wouldn't really count that as a boss fight, because all you do is try to stay alive until Danny can unlock the door, then run away. The only other thing that even comes close to a boss fight would have to be the 2-headed sphincters, but they show up too many times for me to consider them bosses. So how does the game present challenges, if not through bosses? Ambushes. Lots of ambushes. There are plenty of instances where enemies just spawn in as if from nowhere. I mean, you can kill everything in the room, turn your back for 2 seconds, and enemies will teleport in. But don't worry, there are checkpoints like every 10 feet. So inevitably, when you get killed by an asshat you couldn't see coming, you don't lose much progress. That is, unless you are playing in Contagion mode, where the only checkpoints are at the beginning of each chapter. But what kind of masochistic moron would want to torture themselves playing a mode like that? I hope to finish my Contagion playthrough soon. Anyway, enough about gameplay. What about the story? Meh, again, it's not bad, but it certainly isn't anything new. You know, game starts, stuff goes sideways, then the player has to figure out why and escape. Pretty standard when it comes to horror game plots. In fact, this game feels very much like Dead Space 3. A protagonist dragged into a conflict against their will, to a frozen planet/moon overrun by monsters that used to be human, all unleashed by a lunatic group of people hoping to advance humanity by means of mutation through some alien MacGuffin stumbled upon in some old ruins. It even has the monsters that pop out of the snow, and falling through debris while Tish explodes, and crawling through vents, lots of crawling through vents. In fact, almost every set piece in the game is lifted straight from the Dead Space series, and one from Tomb Raider. It even steals the cliffhanger ending that gets resolved in the DLC.
There might be a way out after all.
Reactor core temporary safeties activated.
But I'm going to need your help.
Now, I'm not against taking inspiration from other games, it's just this game has done it so much it almost has no identity of its own. At least they didn't make it co-op. Now, even with all of its many flaws, I still think this game is totally worth playing. But what of the DLC? Not so much. Riot Mode is just Callisto Protocol's version of Mercenaries, so whether or not you enjoy survival modes in games is going to determine if it's worth spending money on. It doesn't really do much. It only has one map, and it's not even a very big map. It has a bunch of modifiers that you can pick from at the start of each round. Things like refund 1 ammo on shotgun kill, receive 10% less damage, or every 10 kills using the AR gun you will gain credits equal to the amount of ammo you have for the AR. Typical modifiers. You can pick any 3 you like before each round. Once the round starts, you defeat wave after wave of enemies, collecting credits to buy weapons, ammo, and health items. Also, the game occasionally throws sub-objectives at you that give bonuses if you complete them. Objectives such as find Elias's stash, flip all the switches, or go to a place. That's it for Riot Mode. Contagion Mode, as stated earlier, is just a mode where checkpoints are at the start of each chapter. The enemies are stronger, you are weaker, and the items sell for less in the store. Both modes include some skins for Jacob and his weapons, plus some new death and kill animations. Last but not least, we have Final Transmission, the only bit of DLC worth your time. It doesn't do anything groundbreaking or anything, but at least it isn't just mindless filler. You get to learn more about Callipolis, Cole, and Mahler, not that one, through data packs scattered around the world. You also get a new melee weapon, a hammer. The hammer gives you a charge attack too slow to use effectively. Basically, it's just a more powerful stun baton. In fact, it's overpowered, which is okay because you don't get it until the end of the DLC. There's also a new boss fight, bringing grand total to 2. It's easily my favorite fight in the whole game. At the end, it confirms that Jacob did, in fact, sacrifice himself for Danny.
Final report, Dr. Caitlin Mahler. I found him in the Warden's Tower and dragged him here. His link to Danny's core still active. I used this connection to upload the full details of the experiment. Whether it will be received, I can't say. But it was our only hope to get the truth out there. To turn his sacrifice into opportunity.
Data transfer complete.
Finally. Jacob, you did it. And now, your fight is done.
Unlike Dead Space 2, where Ellie comes back at the last second to save Isaac, this game shows there is very little chance of Jacob returning. Although, if the developers really wanted to, they could always bring back Jacob as one of Mahler's biomechanical creatures or something like that. It will be interesting to see what they do, if and when this game gets a sequel. I hope it does, because as flawed as this game is, I genuinely enjoyed this game. Anyway, that's what I think. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think me a moron? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you in the next one.